everyone. Welcome to the My Amazon Guide Tuesday PPC AMA. I'm your host, Marissa Linzey. I'm a brand director here at My Amazon Guide. On the meeting with me today, or on the podcast with me, I have Kristen Lasch, who's also a brand director here at MAG. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on here. First time with Marissa, and we love her. So I'm super excited to do this with you.
Yeah, we actually just met last weekend at the MAG Summit in Georgia at Stephen's house. So if you were lucky enough to catch that podcast on Friday, there was a bunch of us together answering your questions. But yeah, that was really fun. We're back home now.
Finally, I had quite the journey getting home. But
yeah.
Made a lot of besties there, so I'm really happy.
That's what matters. Okay. So today we'll be answering some PPC questions. I anticipate to have some related to Prime Day now that kind of all of that information is starting to filter in a little bit as far as search query performance data. I don't know if that's available yet. I haven't checked. Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it takes a couple of days
after a Prime event. Yeah. But yeah, any type of budget questions or anything like that, fair game as well. But yeah, let's jump in.
All right. Hi, this is from Cool Peeps. I know you're a frequent member here. Welcome. Hi, ladies. Hope you're both doing well. I'm about to launch a new product. I'm wondering if you can step through each step of your launch strategy. Thank you.
And I think there's a
and roughly how many PPC campaigns do you typically run when launching a new product? Any breakdown by campaign types? The more details you can supply, the better. Thank you.
Okay, good question. This is one that we get pretty frequently. So the first part of this, so launching a new product. So ideally you want to have your listing kind of fully baked before you really spend a whole lot of ad dollars on it. This is just because, you can direct a whole bunch of eyes to your listing, but if they click on it and it doesn't really look like what, or it's not super representative of your product and the quality of it and the message that you're trying to get across, there's a good chance that you could be racking up advertising dollars, but not so much, converting. So I think that's the first part of the strategy, is definitely make sure your listing is retail ready before advertising. So that's step one. And then how many PPC campaigns? So typically, I like to start with a few auto campaigns. I know that's something that we did for some of our clients who were launching new products on Amazon or just launching on Amazon for the first time. These are some, really great ways to, harvest keywords so that they're showing up in your search query performance report and that kind of thing. And seeing which spaces your products are doing well in. So auto campaigns for sure. Depends on, is this one hero product with a bunch of variations? Are these very different products that you're launching? So I feel like I'd need a little bit more information just about even the category of the products in, anything like that. Typically I like a few, broad phrase. I don't typically go to exact immediately after, trying to launch a product. I think that can get kind of expensive, especially if you're, not really being placed in all the, the ideal spots that you want to be yet within the Amazon algorithm. So I'd say maybe you want to do 10 campaigns to start, right? So you've got odd, broad, phrase, and then you've got, if it makes sense to do a defensive one straight out the gate so that you're defending your brand, and then obviously having some for competitor products and also complementary products too, right? So you're going after, products that are very similar to yours, and also showing up for products where people buy them in conjunction, right? So a good example is if you sell like cooking pans, right? You probably want to show up around like lids, like, cooking lids or pot lids, for the same size for like your pot or something like that. So
Totally agree. Good comments there. You can use, so if your products are similar to ones you already have in your catalog, you can look at your market basket analysis and your brand analytics as well, to see some of those complementary products and see if you can kind of like hit the ground running with some previous information that you might already have on your account. If it's a brand new product, you probably won't have that data quite yet, so you'll need to wait a little bit. But all of those are good suggestions that Marissa shared.
yeah, you can do like category targeting as well, and you can
Mhm.
refine based on like stars and that kind of thing as well. So, definitely make sure you're doing your research on who your competitors are, like what they're showing up for. That's going to be really helpful for you. But if I had to throw out a number to start, I would say like anywhere from like 10 to 15 campaigns, as long as they're diversified and
Mhm.
their purpose, right?
Yep.
You're creating each campaign with an intent.
And if you're looking for competitors, make sure they're actually your competitor. If they are way higher priced than you, and kind of just in a different category, or way lower priced than you, might not be your competitor. So make sure that they're very like products, and that they've got kind of a similar price point, or that you're slightly undercutting their price point. That can look really, ideal to the customer that's out there searching, like, oh, this is $1 or $2 cheaper. Let me test out this brand.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. Let's move on.
All right, Karen, for repeat purchase brands, supplements, etc., how do we determine lifetime value of a customer? How do we determine new customers versus repeat customers, since only sponsored brand shows new customers?
Okay. And then I think there's a
Oh,
second.
another one. Also for repeat purchase brands, supplements, etc., unit conversion rate on Amazon is skewed since overinflated due to subscribe and save, correct? How do we remedy this?
Good questions. So, how do we determine life value of a customer? That's a really good question, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to completely answer this. So, like my first thought is, obviously subscribe and save. Like if you have some kind of loyalty factor there, I believe you can also go into market basket analysis, like what Kristen was saying. There is a section for repeat behavior that you can look
Mhm.
at. So I would, if Amazon is going to give you that information, definitely use it. So I can demonstrate here actually what this looks like on Steven's account. I'm all logged in. Okay. So here we have the search query performance. So if we go into here, this is going to be under brands and brand analytics. And then if we go over to consumer behavior analytics, it's under repeat purchase behavior. And you can look on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly kind of basis. So let's do for Q3. And we can see, number of orders by the brand. We can filter it by brand if we want to look. At just age of stage, sales, change versus the prior period. So this would be Q2, repeat order units, customer count, and then repeat customer share. So, and you can actually download this as well. So this might be helpful. I know it's not maybe as in-depth as maybe we would like. You can go to an ASIN view here too. So this might be a little bit more helpful as far as like, ASIN searching, number of orders per product. So like the burning sage bundle, number of orders, sales, change versus the prior quarter or month or year, repeat customers here. So you're getting a numeric amount for each product, for each ASIN. So I imagine that would be pretty helpful. And you can kind of track it this way.
Yep. So there's a few different places that you can kind of look to see what your customer's purchase behavior is doing. This is helpful. Maybe they just launched coupons for repurchasing as well to kind of incentivize that. Also, watch your subscribe and save metrics, and this will kind of help you deduce what the kind of lifetime value of your customer is. But yeah, I guess we don't really have like an exact formula on this. It's hard to kind of gather every data point into that. But this is how we kind of could possibly get like an average number.
Yeah, or even, if you're just trying to track it over time and see, okay, am I gaining more repeat customers? Is it kind of dropping off? And you can kind of make some high-level decisions based on that.
You can start adding subscribe and save coupons to incentivize your brand tailored promotions. There's definitely plenty of offers there, and just little perks to add so you can get people to purchase again.
Definitely agree there. And as far as I have seen subscribe and save be a little inflated. That is something that I agree with. I don't really know if there's any way to remedy it though, unfortunately. So I had a client where they had like thousands of pending orders actually, and they would for weeks and months, right? They would never clear. It was all subscribe and save, and they just like wouldn't go through. So it actually happened where we had to unenroll them from subscribe and save for a few weeks. And then we actually re-enrolled them. And that did seem to help a little bit. This was a very kind of intense problem for a while. So, I mean, maybe if you're really, really interested in having more exact kind of numbers surrounding subscribe and save, you could try that. This was after, ticketing Amazon for months. So it wasn't just kind of like a hasty decision. Definitely, something you want to confirm with Amazon, but for us at least, they kind of told us, oh, this is completely accurate, or there's nothing wrong here. And we kind of had to take some matters into our own hands there. Okay, next question.
All right, Diana. Hi, ladies. I'm wondering what PPC strategy you would recommend if you have a product in a very competitive niche that has a CPC of $4 to $7 and the brand owner is on a tight budget.
Ooh. So those can be pretty high cost per clicks. I guess depending on the actual price of the product, that's kind of where my brain goes. If this is a $50 or $60 supplement, maybe that's not too bad, but I think it's going to be a lot worse if it's, in the $20 range for sure. Yeah, supplements and, even like cosmetics, and there's a whole lot of like really competitive categories.
Yes.
My recommendation is always to look for some maybe less used keywords. So obviously, there's going to be those one or two very straightforward, broad, keywords that you want to be showing up for. They're hyper relevant to your product, but the conversion rate on them might not be great. So I always tell people, even if search volume isn't necessarily there for some of the more long-tailed keywords, you could be really surprised by their conversion rates and how well, your product actually sells on them from like a ROAS and ACoS perspective. Because the more specific somebody is getting like into the weeds of their search, number one, the more determined they probably are to make a purchase. And number two, the more likely you're actually going to be in the realm of what they're looking for pretty immediately.
Yep, I remember a phrase that Jason always used to use. He said that, we're trying to take smaller pieces of the pie and then we slowly grow and we're taking bigger shares of the pie. So once we do have more budget and once we can spend more and we've taken over a little bit more on those longer tail keywords, then we can start, really targeting some of those more direct, relevant keywords as well that have the higher cost per click because we might have the budget for it then. And we might also be doing better organically as well, where Amazon's favoring us more in the organic realm and pushing us with their algorithm. And then we don't need to rely as heavily on PPC. You still need it, but you'll be writing it organically. So your tacos may be lower and your ACoS can have room to breathe. Definitely kind of depends on the situation, but I totally agree with Marissa. Like take smaller chunks, like go after those longer ones. Even if the search volume isn't insanely high, take it over.
Definitely. And, I'd be really interested to know like what your brand share looked like Is this a brand that has established itself on Amazon? Like, do you have repeat customers, people that are like familiar with your branded terms? We kind of, tend to find that the more, recognizable a brand is, maybe the less they have to really spend on their own branded keywords. So you might be able to limit that to, only the self-targeted defensive campaign types and not necessarily have to go after them like everywhere all the time. And, ACOS might look great artificially sometimes, but me personally, I'd rather not spend any money there if I don't have to, and I'm going to get the sale anyway, organically,
Exactly.
So those are our thoughts there. We have some good morning. So from Roughliners on Amazon. Good morning. We have Hamza. Hello.
Hi.
Hi from Dubai, from Rosina. Hello.
Hi.
Is this live? This is live.
It is.
We are live every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Okay, let's get back into some questions.
Let's see, from Robert, I'm considering using sponsored product ads to target my own ASINs. If my keyword target is an ASIN, should I bother with match types other than exact? How would you structure these campaigns?
It's a good question. My keyword target is an ASIN. I probably wouldn't bother with any other match type other than exact. Honestly, if people are just punching in an ASIN, they're probably copy and pasting it and hitting enter, I don't imagine that there's a whole lot of like, typing after that. At least from like my experience, right? Like if I have an ASIN, right, I'm probably just gonna punch it in, hit enter and find it. So I think that's a good strategy. My keyword target is an ASIN. Maybe again, like circling back to like branded keyword targets. I mean, that might be a good opportunity here. When you punch in your ASIN, right? Who else is showing up for that search, right? If it's not just you, which is probably not. I've seen very few cases where it is. Make sure you're also going after those, products and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd probably recommend exact here, and it's probably going to be. I want to say it's going to be pretty inexpensive because that's probably going to be a term with a low search volume. Okay. Next.
All right, from Blaine. Good morning, ladies. What software would you recommend to do Amazon attribution via Google or Bing PPC to see keyword data conversions at keyword level?
That's an interesting question. I can't say that I have a ton of experience with this. Do you know off the top of your head, Kristen, if like just like Helium 10 or like Jungle Scout or like any of those programs offer any of this type of?
I honestly can't think off the top of my head on this one.
If we know in the comments and we want to help out Blaine, we can definitely circle back to this.
It's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. Stumped us.
Yep.
Hi, Gregor.
Hello. Hi, guys. Nice to see you. Never done phrase match campaigns. What's the purpose of them? Thanks.
Yeah. So phrase match, essentially, that phrase. So whether it's, 2 words, 3 words, it has to show up in that order. So if the example is like burning sage bundle, right? That phrase has to show up in that order. There can be things that, come up before it, after it, but you're essentially targeting that, string of words altogether. Whereas broad, those keywords can show up in any type of order unless you're doing a broad match modifier. So in a way, like broad match modified and phrase are very similar, but broad and phrase are not. So I've seen a lot of success with phrase, and I do think it's kind of the ugly stepchild of the match types. I don't think it gets a whole lot of love, but I do think it can be really useful, especially if they're is a chance, right, that people, are searching for that phrase, but maybe they're searching for that and a bunch of other things as well, like either before or after that phrase, right? So what I like to do is via like the search query performance report. So I can pull one as an example from brand analytics. I can find it.
Here we go.
Okay. So some of these are not great candidates, right? Like sage, that's not going to be a great phrase. Probably going to be expensive. This might be a good one though, right? So Halloween gifts, right? As a phrase, people could add anything onto that. So that's both a good and bad thing, and you're going to have to probably do some negating here. Halloween gifts for girls, for boys, for women, for, they can add anything to the end of that, and you'd still show up for the phrase type match. Whereas, broad, this could be like, gifts for Halloween parties or something like that. It can kind of skew the situation that you're trying to show up for, if that makes sense. So especially for some of these like longer keywords, if you're really not trying to do an exact match campaign, at least right away, this could be like a good like phrase, flowers for delivery, or even you could like chop this up. And just do flowers for delivery and not include Prime. But you would still show up for this whole search query, right, with a phrase match. Or you could also choose to target this in exact. So, it gives you a little bit more options, I feel like, as far as like, how you're experimenting with all of this data that Amazon is actually giving you about how people are searching for your products, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense to me.
Hopefully it makes sense to everybody else. But I'm a big proponent of phrase match, honestly. And I do think you should be you can find some really creative ways to be using it.
I agree. And I definitely, I like looking at broad as well and seeing kind of what's sticking, what's not. Again, yes, you do need to negate heavily. There's going to be plenty of stuff that's not relevant, but it will give you some ideas and some terms that actually will be useful.
Definitely. Okay, next one.
Terry, I have been running mostly sponsored product campaigns for several months. What is a good strategy for moving into sponsored display or sponsored brands advertising?
Okay. Moving to sponsored display. So I think this is kind of going to depend on what kind of assets you have, right? For these more interactive and visual type of, ad types. So, if you've been running mostly sponsored product campaigns, that's great. For a lot of people, they're the bread and butter of your whole portfolio. As far as strategy, make sure you have enough assets, I think would be my advice. You have videos, right, that are displaying the product in the first 2 seconds of the video and kind of going into, who is it for, and, in what situations should you be using it, etc. Sponsored brands, we have like the headers that are really nice. So, if you have enough products to be, putting in those banners, right? Those can be really nice for top of search. It's really going to kind of depend, like, are we trying to get more brand recognition? That's, the point of a lot of these. For brand registered accounts, you're trying to build up your, brand recognition and loyalty on Amazon. But also, this can be great for like new products or products where it's maybe not immediately obvious like what it's for. And that's where sponsored display can be really helpful and that kind of thing as well. Do you have anything you'd like to add here?
Yeah, no, I love a good video ad. So I think they just take up a really nice portion of the page. They're really eye-catching. And like Marissa said, if you can show your product within like the first 2 seconds and keep it flashy, keep it moving, and really get your customer engaged, like that's one of the best ways to really like build up a customer following and get people to convert. I know that like that's where my eye is going on the search page immediately is like I'm scrolling down like boom, video, I'm watching it immediately. Like there's no question. So there's a lot of good, it's just a more eye-catching one, and it can definitely help with conversion and build that brand loyalty.
Yeah, I feel like everybody, is doing sponsored product, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it can be a little bit different, and you're, a little bit more adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some perks there. There can be. My only other piece of advice: these ads tend to spend very quickly,
Yeah.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to really monitor your clicks, and negate often.
Mm-hmm.
I think is my recommendation. So if normally best practice is to have no more than like 10 keyword targets, per campaign, I would lessen it to like no more than 5 for these types of campaigns, just because you might be really surprised with how quickly they are spending and how many impressions that they're getting, because they are more visual and people are clicking into them maybe a little bit more frequently. They look different. They're popping off the page.
Fully agree.
Okay.
All right, Rosina, I can see my advertising spend on SC for the last 3 months. How to find out spend history, which is older than 3 months. Under business reports, I can only see sales and traffic. I don't see ad spend. Thanks.
That's interesting. Which is older than 3 months. Yeah. So I know we usually like download this data before we kind of like lose access to it. Do you know like if there's any way to like pull like a report? I know in the regular console you're really not able to see a whole lot of that beyond 3 months, but I'm curious if like in the measurement and reporting section you can.
I can't think of it. Let's see.
It's not looking like it when I'm pulling it up in. I'm thinking maybe like a tool of some sort, so like a Helium 10 or like that might be able to pull that data.
Yeah.
But you might want to think about, so like we use programs like Merchant Spring, and we also have like manual reporting that we create here. So we'll actually have, reference points for ACOS tacos and everything like that recorded. So it may be maybe more beneficial for you to have that set up or just in like a Google sheet somewhere separately, since Amazon is a little bit weird about this.
Yeah. We don't want you seeing your history of spend. I'm trying to click around to see if I can find something else, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, for the most part, like we have that, information kind of stashed, but I can definitely see how that's frustrating. So
Yeah.
make sure you can set up a recurring report. So if we want to just look at this real quick, and in the ads console, create a report for any of the, match types. So, products, brands, display, search term, targeting, whatever you're, trying to focus on. So if it's, budget to find out, where to spend history, anything like that. And time unit, so summary, or you can do daily. And like you said, there's no way like to go further.
You can do like if you're viewing your campaign manager and you filter your date range to like lifetime or year to date, you can kind of see what you're doing month over month manually. It's not like a downloaded report necessarily, but it can show you, what your spend is you know, on like the first of each month and whatnot, and like the impressions that you had. So you can kind of filter it. It's just not a downloaded report.
Yeah.
If you're really trying to kind of dig in and see what you were spending, you know, say January of last year, same time of last year, you know, is now, to kind of give you an idea of what you were doing for the holiday season, et cetera. That can be helpful. But yeah, there's not like, for whatever reason, they kind of constrict that data.
Yeah. I think you can see overall. So my thing would be, you know, get a recurring report sent to you. So enter your email in there and date, you know, sometime way, way, way in the future, right? And have that sent to you so you have copies of all of this, of all of the information that you want to know. And then I believe, so what kind of Kristen was talking about was you can go and you can do lifetime. So you're going to get presented with a whole lot of data, obviously, that you're going to have to kind of sort through. But that's kind of a manual way to do it. You can also go into like business reports. This doesn't give you like a advertising only level view, but it may be helpful just to kind of see, you know, sales and traffic and that kind of thing. On a wider range. So this you can see up to 2 years ago. So that's better than 3 months. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully that's at least, you know, a little bit more helpful. Okay.
Okay, Rohan, hello. Could you please shed some light on PPC audits? What key data elements you like to look up?
Yeah, so I tend to do a lot of these, mostly for my accounts, sometimes helping out others. So when I'm doing an audit, for the most part, I'm not looking at lifetime, that's for sure. I like to look at everything kind of on a last 30-day basis. Sometimes I'll do it for every 2 weeks if I'm really trying to get very granular and the client is very concerned about tacos. You know, at that point, you're kind of trying to cut every single thing that you can. What I like to do is I like to kind of scroll through here. I like to sort, first of all, by all of your enabled campaigns. So there's a filter there. So you can see just what's actually active. I like to look at, you know, budgets. So I look at maybe, you know, why is this ineligible and look to fix that. Making sure everything's delivering. That's pretty straightforward. And then looking to see, you know, based on the amount of clicks, right, and ACoS. Obviously, if your campaign has never made a sale before, you know, you're not going to have an ACoS. So that's where you want to be looking at clicks and spend. So anything really, you know, under 20, 25, really depending on like what the category is. Like this one's getting a little bit high, like 17 clicks, almost $30 in spend, you know, no sales. And then we have, you know, a lot more here that do have the clicks, they do have the sales, and their ACoS is pretty manageable. So, you know, definitely want to look at, you know, clicks, no sales. You want to look at campaigns that don't have any impressions. That's part of a good PPC audit, I think. Why don't they have impressions? Are you bidding high enough? Like, are you being strategic with, you know, how you're setting everything else, setting everything up? Naming conventions are important. So, you know, knowing what, you know, what exactly this is and what's it for. So this would be a defensive type of ad. And then we'd get into sorting by really high ACoS. So I'd be looking, okay, you know, what is maybe generating sales, but, you know, and in my experience, it's not really worth it to get, you know, an $18 sale and spend $56 for it, right? So that's where you have to start making some high level human decisions where, you know, your bots and automation aren't really going to be super helpful here, and say, okay, does this really make sense, right? Or does it make more sense to maybe pull the one, you know, keyword in here that got the sale and then turn the rest of, you know, this campaign off? So this one got the sale. It was a broad match, pumpkin soap. Okay, maybe I try to see in the targeting tab, right, if this has gotten more sales or better traction in Fraser Exact. And I might decide that this, based on how long it's been active, right, if this is ready to go, and maybe we don't need this anymore. So, it's all kind of based on context. So, like looking in here and saying, okay, like, how is this doing?
Right. You want to definitely see which ones are eating up a lot of your budget, and if they're actually converting for you, like Marissa said. So don't just look at ACOS, look at your spend too. Because sometimes ACOS might look super high, but spend was actually really low and we're still gathering data. So like, we don't want to let that totally alarm us. But if ACOS is insanely high and spend is insanely high, and we've only got like 1 to 2 orders on it, what's going on? Where can we really optimize this one and like bring it home so that we're actually spending efficiently and not just throwing a bunch out to the wind?
And we also might have some cannibalization here as far as
exactly.
Both of these are in broad, and I can't really see a purpose to be using them in 2 separate campaigns like that. But this one is doing, much better than the one we just looked at with 1 order. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think that's a great tip as well. So like looking at ACOS, but obviously ACOS is just a percentage, right? It doesn't mean anything if your spend isn't also, being taken into account. So, you can filter by spend as well. Those are kind of the main ones I like to look to. So ACOS, spend, and clicks for sure. So, I mean, this is a little bit high for maybe as much money as we spent on it in the last 30 days. But again, it's all kind of relative. Something like this, I'd probably really look into and say, okay, like what is spending like that to make this, almost negligible to what we're making and that kind of thing. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but those are some things to look out for, I
You
think.
can go down a rabbit hole with these audits. So it's good
Really
to have a baseline to start with.
Really can.
A few optimizations, and then like really go after, like your top sellers or products that you're really trying to push, and look at those campaigns and see where you can push a little bit further there. But know what you're looking for first. Know the data you're trying to find, and then you can kind of target how you're setting up your audit so that you're not, just sitting there for days on end, just like
not everything's going to be glaringly obvious.
No.
You have to have, goals in mind where, for me, I really don't love anything over like a 35% ACOS. I think that's kind of, but I have plenty of clients that are like, oh, anything, under 50 is fine, or, so really knowing, what it is you're looking for, what your goals are. We have some clients that are like, oh, I don't care if we run a 500% ACOS. I just want the impressions. I just want to get out there and have people see my products.
A lot of products like that are usually ones that they make more money off of with subscriptions that people need to use their product. So ACOS could mean nothing to them because they're like, it's just the acquisition of the customer. Like, I don't care if I'm losing tons of money on the actual product itself because I make money elsewhere. So it literally, like, it depends on your product. It depends on what your goals are for the account.
Definitely. Okay.
Mark, is there a way to run PPC ads just for customers on mobile devices?
I don't think so. I think DSP, I think you can cater certain ads to like mobile or like desktop. As a general word of advice, we do, urge clients to have assets that are optimized for both. You never know. You can look into your demographic data to have a general idea of like, are more people viewing your products on mobile than desktop? So this will typically happen if you have like a younger age demographic that are on their phones and do all their shopping on their phones pretty consistently. But if you're selling, I don't know, I don't want to make any generalizations here, but if you're selling like, I don't know, like bed sheets or something where like, or I don't know, like prune juice or something, like, probably
graphic, probably shopping on their phones as much.
Probably.
They're probably in front of their computer. Now, I know my grandma is like great at texting, but she is not shopping from her phone. She's looking on her web browser, on her PC, trying to see the big screen and everything. So know your audience and know what to optimize your listings for. That can really help, like when you're trying to determine like what you want to put in images and things like that. We always want to make sure that we're going to be seen well on mobile, especially for your main image. What does it look like when you're scrolling, like for your title, like what can actually be seen, know which keywords to put in the front end. Now that I know this isn't PPC, but it's going to help your PPC conversion based on how your demographic is shopping.
Definitely. PPC only takes you so far.
It's true.
Okay.
All right, Carl, part 1, we have a brand with 130 variations, size and color. We're running ads only on a few of the most popular ASINs since everything shows on the single detail page. 2, if the customers purchase one of the other variations, is it still counted as a PPC sale?
So I believe the answer is yes here because there's like the halo. So it knows based on the last thing you clicked and like if you converted, it'll go under your whole brand as kind of like a halo and attribute it to your ads. It just may be hard to see, which variation was purchased is my thought there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that we just found one where we were targeting a different ASIN in a parentage, and actually more customers were converting on a different ASIN in that parentage, but the click or the cost of the sale regarding advertising was going towards the one that we were targeting. But we were seeing that all the sales were going to the other one. So like, it looks like the one ASIN has a very high acquisition cost, but it was converting more clicks on actually a more expensive, larger product in that variation. So you got to see kind of like where it's going to, and like you definitely have to look at a granular level on that. But you can kind of see where the sale is being attributed, and possibly, all right, maybe we need to switch to the one that's actually converting the sales there. Because clearly that's what people are clicking on and they're ending up purchasing.
Definitely. We have hi from India. Hi, Rohit. Okay.
Umair. Hey, how are you doing? So I have a question. If the search term in broad has a good search volume and we are targeting that keyword in exact match also, the search term will consume the budget of the broad campaign, then what is the possible solution even though it's performing well in broad match?
Yeah, so my thought here is that, you really don't have to have that keyword in, exact and broad, especially if it's doing well in broad. My thought is, let it do well in broad, I'd be more interested to know, like, if there's a longer tail keyword that would be a better exact match. And, if you're harvesting that data and looking at your search query performance, like, as part of the broad match, like what else are you converting on, right? So if you're converting on like Halloween, right, but you're also, converting on like Halloween gift for girls or something, you know what I mean? That's gonna be attributed to broad as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought would be, don't put Halloween in both as just that, diversify a little bit and, let the broad do its thing and do well, and then try to mix it up a little bit and be a little bit more long-tailed for exact. That's my thought there. I also, I feel like people are very, they cling to, the rule of 3 where you have to have it in broad phrase and exact, or, if it's doing well in broad, you have to move it into exact. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think, sometimes just because of the way the algorithm works or whatever, you're just going to have certain words that do better in certain matches. Mm-hmm. And there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just kind of the mysteries of the A9 algorithm, I think.
Yeah, you can definitely test it out and move it to an exact, et cetera, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to be performing much better there. So,
definitely.
Watch it, watch what you're doing. Always like check your data, check what's happening, stay alert on your account. Don't set and forget. That's like one of our number one rules, and make strategic decisions.
Definitely.
Rough liners, is targeting an ASIN worth the PPC? I feel like it's so exact. You show up in the first 2 lines usually.
Yeah, I tend to agree here, honestly. We don't do it super frequently. I think this is more of a defensive tactic, honestly, where if your competitors know your ASIN and they are going after you like very directly, like maybe you have only 1 or 2 very direct competitors, and they're going after you like every which way, any way that they can. I think this is definitely probably more of a defensive measure than like a growth strategy.
I agree. Khan, hi there. What do you think about day parting? If you're day parting, how do you do that? Thanks.
I'm so glad you asked. So previously, day parting was only reserved for DSP as like a DSP function. They have since started rolling it out to some accounts in the regular Seller Central or Ads Console, but it's not labeled as day parting. It's actually a bid rule. So I hope Steven has access to this. I think he does by now. So you can be in your regular ads console, and it's not going to be like an option in here or anything like that, unfortunately. You're going to have to actually go into the campaign you want to start day parting with. And then you're actually going to have to create a budget rule. So add budget rule, name your rule, and then you have the option to schedule. And you can do, see, it says new hours of the day. So you can do a start and end time. This is actually like brand new, I think, the hours of the day. So you can run it all day. You can do a custom date range, or you can do it based off of like events. So Black Friday and Christmas are the next ones. Start, end, no end date. You can do it weekly. So let's say, you're a brand that really doesn't make any sales on the weekends. So you can choose to run it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or you could do the inverse if you only are getting purchases on the weekends. But yeah, this is actually brand new. You can choose a start and end time while you're doing it weekly. So we have a few clients where they're mostly B2B, right? They sell hand dryers like for bathrooms. So for the most part, people are only buying these from 9 to 5. So military time here, I believe that's correct. Yeah, trying to do quick math in my head. And then it would only run from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then this can actually do a lot to help manage your ACOS a little bit better. If you have a trend that speaks for itself that says, hey, like we really do not get sales on the weekend. People don't work on the weekend, and they're not thinking about industrial kind of like hand dryers in their free time or after work when they're at home, right? So as far as how you do that, so you can see here that you have the option to increase your budget by a certain percentage, but at this time you do not have the option to decrease those bids. So what you actually have to do is you have to go in and decrease all of your bids first before you actually attempt to raise any of them during this time frame, if that makes sense. Otherwise, your budget is going to spend like crazy. So you have to do some prep work in order to have this not overspend.
Great. And I think it's one of the best new features. I know it's something that, people have been kind of asking about for a while, and Amazon finally listened and launched it for us. And this is going to be really cool to use over the holiday season. People are shopping at many different times of the day. I know as a mom, I'm always shopping at night for my kids, so like that's when I'm looking for toys or whatnot for Christmas. So that might be when I'm increasing bids for, a toy line, etc. So you really look at the purchase behavior, what times people are really, purchasing your products. It's going to be definitely different based on different categories. But it's a very exciting tool to use and can really help you make sure that you're using the most out of your budget, and pushing that spend during the times of day when you're actually more likely to convert.
Definitely. Need to keep a close eye on it for sure. So it's not something I recommend for every single client, especially ones that are very tight on budget or metrics. It's very experimental still. But I think it can definitely be a great tool.
Agreed.
Okay, so we are coming up on time, so I want to make sure we're getting to as many questions as we can. So let's see. Let's do this.
All right, from Ali. Hey, how are you? I'm from Pakistan. I'm doing private label in the UK, and I have run test campaigns for 1 month, ASIN targeting, auto phrase campaigns. And when I get keywords, I run the exact campaign on until my ad shows on the first page, first or third row. But now I'm getting a little slow sales. I'm ranked on targeting keywords, but still I'm not in profit. What do you suggest? How do I control ACOS?
Okay. So my first kind of thought here, I don't know that 1 month is going to be super conclusive for you, unfortunately. Sometimes depending on how long the listings have actually been live and that kind of thing, it can take, 2-3 months sometimes for your product to really, pop off.
Yes.
I know honeymoon period does help in the first 2 weeks of launch, but it can be kind of a uphill battle for a little bit. And I do find that some sellers are really not working in loss into their Amazon plan. And that's something that you really do have to think about. You're probably not going to be profitable the first few months that you're on the platform or trying to do advertising. I'm probably going to lose some money.
Yeah, I always tell clients to expect it to be a bit of a roller coaster. We're going to see ACOS go up, go down. We're finding what's working. We're finding what's not. We're optimizing as we go, but you're definitely not going to be running like this super efficient, constantly converting, advertising setup immediately because, we don't know what's working for us yet.
Definitely. And as far as the second part of this goes, I'm ranked on targeting keywords, but still I'm not profiting. What does your listing look like? I'd be really interested to see if this is, I don't think it's a relevancy problem because it seems that you do know what keywords you're going after and you're being tactical there. But I'd be really curious, like, what does your main image look like, right? We've been doing a bunch of CTR hacks the last few weeks, just redoing people's main images and making them more eye-catching. You could be in this space and be paying to be in any space you want, but if you are not getting people's attention and getting them to click and your listing, maybe doesn't look as good as it could, PPC isn't going to take you that extra mile. PPC is a tool, but you really do have to do a lot of the grunt work on the listings themselves organically for PPC to be able to help you.
You can try some A/B tests if you feel like you're already, have a decent main image, but maybe there's some tweaks like add, one of your top keywords into the image somehow, add it to your packaging. There's a lot of different hacks that we've added. Add a cute dog in there if that's relevant. Add a baby, something that's going to get people to be excited about the product, or do that like cute factor kind of thing. That will help with conversion, but definitely run a few tests. See if that's the issue. See if it's the actual listing. See if it's your price point maybe. And you need to be a little bit more competitive right now while you're in the launch phase, and then slowly, incrementally raise your price back up to where you need it to be for where your margins are going to keep you in a profitable spot. But it's not just PPC that could be the factor here that's slowing conversion. It could be some other, items on your listing. So I agree with Marissa. We'd want to see what your whole listing looks like to kind of know exactly where it might be falling off or slowing down.
Yeah, definitely. Like, are you catering to your target demographic? Like, do you have alt text? Like, are you appealing for like events, right? So like, do you have like any Halloween kind of videos or any, you want to make sure you're changing up your listing to be relevant all the time as much as you can, right?
Agreed.
Okay.
Cater
I
to
think
the
we
same
have,
audience.
yeah. So what software is best for keyword tracking? That's easy. We like Helium 10 here. We're big Helium 10 fans.
We are.
Okay. So I think that's going to be all the time we have for questions, because I do want to do some soft promo here. Hard promo, soft promo. So kind of like what I was talking about as far as CTR, main image hacks. So we are offering those. So if you want to learn more, you can order a main image upgrade.
Yep, that's going to be a great, great tool for Q4. Make sure you're in the best spot possible.
Yep. So $100 new main image. For a lot of people, this is, would you rather spend $100 on a new main image that gets you a bunch more impressions and clicks and sales, or would you rather spend $100 in your ads, right? That goes a lot quicker in your advertising than it does, for a one-time fee to have a brand new main image. So
remember how visual people are too. Like, people are visual shoppers now. It's not all about the keywords. It's not all about, like, yes, those are all important, but I mean, people are looking at your picture first.
Definitely. And that's how they're making their first initial choice, right? When they are, provided with all of these other options, what are you doing to really stick out? So that's the first thing. We have all of our services here listed. So we do listing reinstatement for account suspensions, everything like that. And we also have coaching calls. So I'm here, Kristen's here. We also have Jason, Tom, Faith, Joe. For CTR specifically, maybe John's your guy, Fran, and you can actually email Steve and Pope a question. So we all have different specialties there. These are really great if you're maybe not looking to commit to like a contract, and maybe your question can be easily answered in like a 30-minute call, right? So if it's just going to be like an advertising audit, or you want us to look at something, or if you have a question, we get really good feedback on these because there's really no commitment, but we can touch on a lot of things at one time, right? Careers, so we are always hiring, so you can join our team and apply for any position. We're really looking for interns, so internships super valuable, especially brand manager interns, PPC, design. So whatever your specialty is, there's a position here for you to apply. So that's all linked there to join our team.
You could work with us.
Yeah, like we could be your brand director.
Yep. And I started kind of at an intern level, so did Marissa. And, we've had a lot of growth. We've learned a ton here. We are all about learning at this company. So it's a great stepping stone and place to just build your career.
Definitely. And we also have all of the Mag School courses as well. So these are really instrumental. We have some even for like Facebook ads and kind of off Amazon marketing. So if you have any, questions there, or, if you feel maybe a little ill prepared, our internship programs are really fast paced. You learn a lot during them, and you're given like really in-depth training. But if you feel like maybe you need a little bit more, or a little bit more guidance on certain things, these are all really great. So yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We answered a lot of questions. So yeah.
Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kristen, for joining me.
Anytime.
And keep an eye out next week. I think we're going to have a very special guest.
Yes.
No spoilers, but definitely keep your eyes peeled.
We're excited for this one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.